we are finally to the editing phase. So far, we've been working on revising our writing. We've added transitions, we've added topic and concluding sentences, we've worked on our conclusion. Today is the day where we go through and read over our writing and we check for spelling, grammar, capitalization, and other mistakes like that. I'm going to use the same editing checklist that I used during my personal narrative to help me as I go through mine. First, though, we are going to start out by practicing editing on a story together. This informational report is all about Mars, so follow along with me as I read and pay attention to see if you notice any mistakes. Mars, a livable planet. Have you ever wondered if there are other planets in our solar system that are livable besides Earth? If so, you're not the only one. Scientists have been doing extensive research to get to the bottom of this question. So far, they have found that there may be one other planet in our solar system we could possibly live on. This planet is Mars. Mars is referred to as the red planet because its surface is made of rocks and a thick layer of oxidized iron that appears to be red in color. The information gained by rovers that were sent to the planet in 2004 have been very helpful in gathering information for scientists. This is what scientists know about Mars so far. First, it is mostly desert with high mountains, valleys, and even volcanoes. They do believe there was water flowing on Mars at one time due to the canyons and gullies. Also, Mars has polar ice caps, like the ones we have in the Arctic regions on Earth. The temperature is much colder on Mars than it is on Earth, as Mars is farther from the sun. On average, the temperature on Mars is about negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but in some areas can get up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason they are closely looking at Mars for this opportunity is because it has an environment closest to the planet we currently live on. However, there are some things that will make living on this planet quite the challenge. One being that Mars has no ozone layer like Earth does. This means there is no protection from the sun or flying solar particles on Mars. The gravity on Mars is much lower than the gravity we have here on Earth. Unfortunately, because of the low gravity on Mars, our bodies would lose muscle and bone mass to adapt to its environment, thus making humans who visit there extremely weak. In addition, Mars is about 33 million miles away from Earth, which would take around 6 months to travel there from Earth. For these reasons, scientists are working together to come up with some possible solutions to overcome these challenges. So, just how close are we to actually living on Mars? On March 21st, 2017, the President of the United States told NASA they need to have a plan to get people on Mars by 2033. About a week later, NASA came back with a detailed plan that has a total of 5 phases on how they plan to get there. They are currently in phase 0, which involves developing partnerships with private space companies and running tests at the International Space Station. Cost is going to be a major factor, as all this behind-the-scenes work is costing the United States a pretty penny. However, scientists remain in high hopes that we are closer than we've ever been. As Buzz Aldrin, the second astronaut to land on the moon, would say, Mars is there, waiting to be reached. Okay, so you might have noticed while I was reading there were some places where I kind of paused or stumbled because as I was reading, I was noticing those mistakes. So let's go back and look for the different mistakes that we can fix. I heard in the very first paragraph, it says scientists have, when it should be plural, we need that S at the end of scientists. Scientists have been doing extensive research. I also kind of stumbled here with there because I recognize that this is not the correct version of there. They do believe there was water flowing on Mars. This there, one, it's spelled wrong. Two, it's possessive. So I'm going to cross it out, and we need there, like the place. I noticed in our second paragraph down at the bottom, Mars is a proper noun and needs to be capitalized. So I'm going to keep going through and looking for any mistakes that I see. I want you to look through and see if you notice any mistakes as well. Okay, so some other mistakes I noticed. I saw a word that is misspelled because we had that capitalization, and then there seems to be a problem in this with homophones. No, here, hi. These words are all spelled correctly, but they're not being used correctly in the sentence. This means there is no protection. And they mean like, we don't have it. This kind of no is what's inside your brain. So I'm going to change it to the correct form of no. And then the gravity we have here on Earth, this here is the sense, like with your ears, and we need it to be the other here. And then in this last paragraph, scientists have high hopes. This high is like high. We want them up here, not low, but high. High hopes. Then my other misspelled word, because, this one's just actually misspelled. If I don't know how to spell this word, I can grab a dictionary and look it up. If I realize how to spell it, I can just correct it. You can also use other resources like a family member to help you spell words that you don't know. That last mistake I have left is at the end. They put a quotation from Buzz Aldrin. Mars is there waiting to be reached. The beginning looks fine. They have a comma, then the quotation mark, and then this is the end of my sentence. So I'm going to end with a period and then close the quotation mark. And that's it. Okay, so now I'm going to go through my writing with that editing checklist. I'm going to look for mistakes in spelling, grammar, punctuation, capitalization, anything that I notice. If you have a family member at home who has some time, you might ask them to help you edit. Sometimes having a second pair of eyes look over what you do can catch things that you may not have noticed. Okay, so I have my rough draft. I have my editing checklist of things I want to look for, and I grabbed a different color pen than what I have been writing in. So if you wrote in pencil, that's fine. Then you could use a pen to do your edits. If you wrote in pen like I did, then you just want to make sure you're using a different color so those edits stand out. So that way when you write your final draft, all those edits you make, you include them in your final draft. So I'm just going to read through and look for any missing words, spelling, capitalization, punctuation, check out my dialogue, and make sure that I don't have anything that I need to change. And remember, you can always ask another family member to read it over after you've edited to do a second round of edits for you. Okay, so I found a couple things that I need to fix. I saw some misspelled words in my first paragraph. I had some capitalization to change, but other than that, I'm pretty good. So lucky for me, I've used this word pharaoh in my paper, and I have it spelled in other places correctly, like back here. So I'm going to use that to help me. Otherwise, I could look it up in a dictionary if I'm not sure how to spell it. And then I've got this word remembered. So I'm going to grab my dictionary to look this one up because I don't remember how to spell it. Okay, so I've got my dictionary and I'm going to look up remembered. Okay, so I didn't find the word remembered, but I did find remember. So I can see already one of the mistakes that I made. I forgot the E in between the B and the R. And then thinking about it now, I remember when I add something to a word to make it past tense, I don't just add the letter D, I add an ED. So I'm going to use the dictionary and some of my knowledge to help me get the correct spelling. And now I am done editing. I've found my mistakes, I've fixed the spelling, and I'm just going to hold on to this so that I will be ready to publish. Okay, so now you need to make your edits and then hold on to your rough draft because tomorrow is our final day. We are going to be adding text features and publishing our writing. See y'all then!